This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.
Years ago, two friends became the best cadets on the force. One went undercover to infiltrate the mob. The other is a highly respected officer, but his true loyalty belongs to the crime lord. Now, they're both out to uncover the traitor among them. They know he's dangerous. They know he's deadly. What they don't know is that they're hunting for each other. The New York Times raves it's dazzling, riveting, a blistering thriller.
When I was your age, they would say we could become cops or criminals. When you're facing a loaded gun, what's the difference?
Did you know that The Departed won 4 Academy Awards?
All right, here we go.
Including Best Picture.
This is who we're after.
Best Director and Best Adapted Screenplay?
Are you listening to me?
Celebrate the best during Movie Awards season on FX. Brought to you by Hyundai, proud sponsor of the Oscars.
We mixed, we loaded, we edited.
Sometimes we get so deep into conversation that we have separate segments worthy of their own place in the sun.
Here is a reshuffled mini episode.
We have the man of a million names. Okay, just a few names, but he's from the Free Real Cinema group, which works with I Love Film and a bunch of other blogs and podcasters, and it is none other than GameDotFilm himself. How are you, buddy?
Good, man. I'm GameDotFilm. I'm 1/3 of Three Real Cinema, my other partners in crime. Yeah, I love the films, and Jesse, Midnight Crawler. We love Asian cinema, horror movies, action movies, martial arts, physical media collecting, and supporting our local business and theaters.
Lovely.
Yeah.
This was fun prepping for, and I promise we'll get you on some other chats as well. We've been doing so many deep dives into all kinds of movie franchises, video games based on movies, and vice versa. Comic
That's
books,
awesome, yeah.
It is like I'll see some people doing like some but not all of the same, or talk about it but not want to follow up with it, and I love seeing if money was well spent or if it was a missed opportunity to try and get all kinds of crowds for some property, and it's always a fun rabbit hole. And it is funny when you tell people don't even bother, but the more you tell them about it, the more it interests them. So it's kind of a reverse funny effect. Oh, don't. Just is like at this point, it's like I'm not doing this to say I told you so. I'm just saying, be warned. Spend $5 and a peanut on it. Don't.
Right.
Don't pay $40 to it on eBay and feel ripped off even more. But yeah, so we're doing so many Scorsese themed episodes for this year, and I had to include you in the over scheme. Is like all the filmmaker retrospects we do. We always like to note how they have so many movies which you could easily say, like that's a themed trilogy or quadrilogy of movies which had that same subject. We were doing it with Spielberg and expect more of that. Whereas like, yeah, this is their war history epic. This is their gangster takeover epic. This is their noir redemption character study, arc.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing their own cinematic universe before it's actually a thing. And it's so funny. I've had, again, 4 others already on, and they either remember The Departed and either liked or thought it was overrated, or they've seen Infernal Affairs, but it's been a minute. Like they can't tell you the last time they saw it. And For me, this only got me all the more interested in director Alan Mack, and I just couldn't believe that. We always like to give all our big budget white Hollywood directors all this acclaim, for shooting and editing their own movies, but like this dude was doing it too. It was like he should get more acclaim because like you can tell it's his vision. Like he is shooting it, framing it, fleshing it out even more. I saw his Young and Dangerous gangster film series, and those are a lot of fun. But like Infernal Affairs was kind of the one that got me into. Not only do I prefer the foreign film over the American remake, but I also I love how.
All right, me too.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, no, I'm not divisive or anything. Well, I am, but I try to just say, hey, something wouldn't exist if there wasn't some kind of audience for it already. But it's kind of interesting how these are as close as Hong Kong kind of gets to a Godfather kind of gangster epic.
Yeah,
I mean, John Woo has his moments, but for the most part, they're just whatever template he can pud. Gunfights and dubs in, and this is
gunfights and dubs,
right? This is a very slow build up. And this is suspenseful and it's so funny. But how did you come along to it? Did you have a subscription service where you could rent Hong Kong film back in the 2000s?
Oh man.
I had Tiger Cinema, which was like Netflix, but for East Asian cinema.
Yeah, this must have been one of my first ever Hong Kong films, and made me fall in love with the Hong Kong genre films for sure. Andy Lau is like the four actors: Tony Leung, Andy Lau, Eric Tsang, and Anthony Wong. Like those four, man, are just so big.
When Andy Lau co-starred with Matt Damon in The Great Wall, Matt Damon plays his traitor, gangster turned cop.
He was in that one.
And so I just thought that was funny. That was like a quiet acknowledgement. It's like, hey, I played your role in the remake. Let's work together. But it's so funny how Tony Leung's been taken off because of appearing as the villain in Marvel's Shang-Chi. And I'm always like, oh, guys, I've known that man for years, And so what did you think of this? How many have harped on how, or joked about how this is much like his undercover, narc in Hard Boiled, but here it's a more serious, more poignant, more tragic. Like he's getting up there, like he's about to stick out like a sore thumb, and if he doesn't get killed by the gangsters, he's going to get killed by this, traitor narc.
Yeah, man. When the only guy that knows who he really is dies, the look on his face, man, like he's not just sad his friend's dead, but he's also like, he just died right there because
absolutely. And this was so one of the few times it really is legit sad. Like it is not trying to, don't get me wrong, no movie is perfect. There's plenty that, much like American films, will force a subplot that's underdeveloped or have cheesy, preachy music playing while there's a random over the top slow motion death. But like here is like, it had been. This is one of the few times I've seen Anthony Wong Chao Zhang not play a psycho,
Dude, yes.
So there's another hardball connection. He's the guy along with Mad Dog who are killing people at the hospital. But like here, the rest of the time I would see him be a career criminal or some dark comedy role or something, or a serial killer. Plenty of
category 3 rated R.
And it's just so funny how it's like, is this
he's like in a suit, clean cut. Serious.
Eric Zhang is always playing a rascal, but this time he's playing the main douchebag gangster who's like, don't mess with me. He's basically the Joe Pesci of the whole thing, but it's
he's like a comedy guy.
He's a total comedy guy. So, I mean, it is, for me, it was, I can't believe I'm putting it in the same sentence, but it was kind of a Whoopi Goldberg, Robin Williams moment where it's like, yeah, comedians can act, but I just was blown away by, it's like, wow. And it's just like Anthony Wong, like he has this down to a T. Like he is trying to, make a deal with the triad saying, hey, we're coming for you. So it's his Heat diner scene moment, where he's like, Pacino to De Niro, he's like, hey, no more joking around. You can either, pack your things up and leave, or, just be warned, I am coming for
That
you.
was
I
one of
got
my
evidence.
favorite scenes in the movie. Yeah, when after the failed drug bust, and then they're at the police station, and Eric Sang is eating like out of 6 or 7 containers of Chinese takeout.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And Anthony Wong comes in, he's like, "How is it?" And he's like, "Good, man. Come on in."
Yeah, it was a good character build up. Like food is such an underused way to like develop people. Like I always love like cell phones here are sparingly used. Not only helps this film date less, but it's only used when people are digging up info and have to reveal it both to the audience while we are watching in on their secret existence, but also like to tell the other characters something important. But like, yeah, food is used so well here as like a building tool too. Is like, hey, this guy is eating sparingly. He's not even hungry. He's just using it to intimidate the gangster while the gangster is just like living up his riches. He has spent all his money and free time on takeout.
Him and his whole gang is there, and he's like, "Yeah, we're all criminals, so what? Like, we don't care."
We don't care. You're just gonna do your usual empty threats, and we're gonna laugh you out after eating with you. And that was really the best part of the Departed was seeing Jack Nicholson's Costello character doing business with a triad gang. I felt like that was as close as they got. It's like, hey, let's do this is a thank you to letting the Hong Kong filmmakers let us remake the movie. But
yeah,
I don't buy the exchange because it's just it's just a far cry from Casino, Goodfellas, Taxi Driver territory, but it's still kind of a fun. It's like it's a better homage than most homages, which are often heavy-handed, and you're like, you just stole from the best movie all time. It's not a Brian De Palma moment where you're like, I'd rather be watching Hitchcock than De Palma.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. De Palma has plenty of winners, but he has plenty of other movies where you're like, oh, you should have just come up with your own twist. Stop that.
Yeah, he can be a master, but he has some ups and downs, I think.
And this movie did introduce me to the whole infernal idea. It's like, oh, okay, because I thought it was internal. It's like, oh, okay, because get it?
It's a pretty brilliant title.
Infernal, yeah, because it's and the title means the non-stop way, which is a reference to Avicii, the lowest level of hell in Buddhism. I'm like, again, this is a well thought out title. It's not just random wordplay to make a quick buck and sell the movie. Like that's.
Yeah, how about those opening titles, man?
The titles are
like
good with
fire.
Yeah, I have seen some critics note how they think Michael Mann has definitely watched a lot of Hong Kong cinema, and I don't doubt it for a minute. Is that same kind of slow dissolve that Miami Vice and Collateral were kind of popularizing, and apparently Criterion Collection did release it on Blu-ray in 2022, so plenty of fanfare. Researching the episode, I was finally able to find an English trailer, from when the Weinstein Company released it, just so I could play this before the movie, but it was not easy to find. I'm like, I've seen plenty of trailers for these movies, and but yeah, going back to Andy Lau, like he is really on fire here. Like so that's why I think this movie stands out even more. Like they do a good job of showing, like that is what I will give The Departed the best closure is Matt Damon just as perfect as the mole, who not only feels loyalty but also feels dead when he kills his so-called gangster mentor while undercover.
Right.
To be the good guy, and Andy Lau did really good here, I think, as just
like suave but serious, but
suave
like
and serious. You buy the secretary, the therapist. Well, it's like they actually separated them into different characters instead of trying to blend it, but you bought it a little better. You're just like, okay, so they're still seeing a woman who, both Chan and Lau, have come across, but I like how they're at least, they did an origin story for him in all parts of the movies, played by Edison Chen, and then, but it was also he definitely feels dead when he kills Wing, in the elevator, because he's like, this is not only he's feeling so many things all at once. He actually feels like more of a cop, but then he's, killed a good guy and he feels bad, and he doesn't know how to process any of this. It's the most complicated bad guy in quite a minute, and talking about it honestly does not even do it justice. People have to actually watch this movie.
He is complicated because, like, he actually, do we believe him? Does he really want to be a good guy, or is he just eliminating his competition, or like he
Yeah,
cannot let anybody know anything? But
he can
yeah,
never be completely honest. Hence, I mean, it's much like any liar. After a while, something slips through because you can't process all your lies.
oh
And
man, I know that's just so much lying. This guy.
but the way they lay him out, I can't believe I'm saying this. He's a scumbag, but he actually seems to have a heart. Like, he believes in what he's doing. And now that I mean, it took me a while to actually, but I did rewatch parts 2 and 3 throughout my years of Hong Kong cinema, and I enjoyed them more on rewatch. I didn't enjoy them at first, but I was like, it totally made sense why part 2 had to be another Godfather type, follow up, and part 3 was really cool because, like, he then gets in a shootout with all these arresting cops who have finally connected all the dots, and his final words are, "I'm an actual cop," like,
Mm,
"I'm
yeah,
a good cop." And it's just like it's just, it's a deliberate irony. Like, the filmmakers were in on it. It wasn't shitty or soapy. It's like, no, they're, and uh
yeah,
I did see other people noted how uh uh Lau is catatonic, lost inside his own mind, inside what he described. I think the actor described as a much like the VC thing, his own continuous hell. He
yeah,
uh he
absolutely.
he dated, Sam's wife. He had a crush on Sam's wife, and uh, the divorced wife later visits him and says, "Our baby can say Papa now."
Oh,
And
yeah,
it was an interesting subplot. Like, he's not. That's the other thing too. Like, so many movies like to do the whole "we're the good guys" and everything. It's like, no, you do not want to be any of these police officers, but you do want to see the kind of complex hell they're in. You do want to see,
yeah,
and kudos to him for showing all the different flashbacks. And I think that's Alan Mack's power as a filmmaker. He had already done plenty of that with the Young and Dangerous film series, and I think anyone who sees it, again, you're going to instantly fall in love with it because it's going to cater to an American audience who wants to see a Scarface Godfather thing, but then Hong Kong fans who like this and Better Tomorrow and Overheard and some of the other good cops and robbers
yeah.
Hong Kong
Seeing
films.
the cityscape,
Cityscape, the music is
neon
really
lights.
appropriately the neon lights, and they do a good job of, like, using montages and cross-cutting and
Cross-cutting, cross-dissolve, additive dissolves, or
discrete
cross-dissolves.
personal conversations, that thinking men's action. And Young and Dangerous, though, like, to its credit, like, it had so many spin-offs and what have you. It had some low points, but you dug it because you loved all the well fleshed out, ironed and gritty characters, and you instant. I
It's
mean, that I see this now in some of all these addicting crime TV franchises. All the Taylor Sheridan shows, all the Power and Ray Donovan stuff, because you instantly know who's the dipshit of the crew, who's the guy in charge, who's the second in command, who's in charge of all the street soldiers versus who are all the cops and the crooked cops and the narcs, who got sex
yeah,
and drugs. When you can iron that out without making it feel like this is the same violent mess that I've seen a million times before in lesser stuff, is like, no, this is good. This is really enriching. I don't want to fast forward just to see all the over the top moments. There's an actual something I actually am connected to.
yeah, dude. I can't believe there's only one action scene in this movie.
But it's
Like it's so tense.
and it
But
feels
there's only like
realistic.
one.
It doesn't feel like a million other movies would have done, just had them kind of rip off Tarantino where they're pointing guns at each other and saying fancy dialogue before one of them shoots, and it's like, it's none of that. It's just,
No, it's not, and that's why I like it a little more than The Departed. It's a little shorter. It's tighter.
mhm.
It doesn't have gratuitous violence. It doesn't have. I don't even think it has one curse word,
That was
Andy
actually a
Lau.
funny thing where the cast and crew of Infernal Affairs, like, I think The Departed, like, won overseas over there, and, like, they saw how it had won, like, the Oscar for Best Picture, and that I am with other Scorsese fans where I'm like, he should have
That's so
already
silly.
won,
He should
but he
not
should
have
not have
won for The
won for that.
Departed.
That was not his best hour, but it was, again, you can enjoy it, but it wouldn't make my top 10. It's kind of like if Spielberg were to win for, The Big Friendly Giant or AI, you'd be like, what the hell is this world coming to? It's just not their best hour,
Yeah, dude.
It'd be like if Michael
Goodfellas,
Mann
Taxi
won for
Driver, way
Ferrari,
better.
I'd be like, hell no. He needs to win for Heat or what,
Heat,
Manhunter, Thief,
Manhunter.
The Keep. Even I'll put my 2 cents in that one. But yeah, it's just like
The Keep has a lot of things going for it. The plot's a little disjointed
it's
a little
nightmare
bit, but
fuel, but
it's
like
it's beautiful looking.
it's a beautiful Hellraiser Omen type movies trapped in World War II. But I'm sure a lot of anime fans or Evil Dead guys would love something like that. But but you'll love this. So like, I think Andy Lau and Alan Mack said like in an interview, I do recall this like, we couldn't stand the language in The Departed, but we're glad it won because it was kind of a win for Infernal Affairs. I'm like, I see what you did there.
Right, and I love the films. He wanted to chime in and say, at the Oscars when they announced Best Screenplay, they said, this is inspired by the Japanese film Infernal Affairs. And it's like, what? Like, that's so disrespectful.
You can't even get the right country.
Right. And some people were saying Scorsese said that, but it was definitely
he knows his countries apart.
Oscars.
The man did Kundun. He knows his countries apart. But
he knows, yeah.
And it did make me a bigger William Monaghan fan. He's done other stuff like the Edge of Darkness remake with Mel Gibson and Kingdom of Heaven, and it was one of those where it's like both very talented people, but there was kind of too many cooks in that kitchen. Like everybody wants to play against each other, and I'm sorry, I just always prefer David Ayer's movies and some of those other. Again, much like the other Michael Mann stuff, Dick Wolf shows, The Shield by Sean Ryan, he always does an epic, corruption show, and Narc with Ray Liotta. So those were my kind of go-to, cops and robbers movies for a while. And Soderbergh always has something cool, even if he doesn't deliver on the whole thing. And it was interesting, though, how it's like, it's like Monaghan has gone on to do some other stuff, but he's still kind of
the screenwriter, right?
Yeah. Like he even did a draft of the second Sin City that didn't get used, but like he's always working, always developing something, and always seems very awesome in interviews as opposed to some of these other guys who seem to be as dark as their characters they write, where you're like, what's wrong with you, dude?
Right. And The Departed, you still got Thelma Schoonmaker at the editing, and you've still got, I think, Michael Bauhaus or Michael Chapman, one of the two, on cinematography. So
Chapman
you still got it's a great. There's definitely some great shots in The Departed. And
I think
the editing
really was
isn't
good.
her. Yeah. He's when I was
but
19,
the editing
20,
needed some works. Howard Shore's score was good, but again, like the man can do no wrong. Like he is always about making something
some moody soundtracks.
Really moody, like
The Fly, Crash.
Mm-hmm. And so when he wasn't doing Cronenberg and Peter Jackson, he was coming over here for this. He had, I think, already worked on, Cape Fear and some of those other ones. But like, it's interesting to me how you actually feel really sad, even though you've hated this mole the whole time. Like when Mark Wahlberg kills Matt Damon, like there's some other Easter eggs showing how he's been abandoned and everything, but it's both well done, but a little too cute because it's like been saved for too long.
Right. That rat at the end, like that was that kind of rolled my eyes. I'm like, really? It's like kind of corny.
Yeah, I do want. They did talk about doing a sequel, and I would have been for it, but at the same time, since other people did kind of bring up a good point, since you already summarized the whole trilogy into 1 2-hour movie, what new stuff would you do?
Yeah, I know, like a prequel or something.
But yeah, this was one of those movies. after free watches, I finally came around to it, but I fucking hated it when I first saw it. I was like, this is not.
Departed?
Yeah.
Man, yeah, I think I really liked it.
I give
but on,
everything 3 to 6 watches before I either write it off or say it didn't hold up or it was never good, and this was one of those. I'm like, I hate this. Then I rewatch it. I'm like, okay, there's some good stuff in it, but again, the language is fucking pissing me off because it just does not sound authentic. It's like a 12-year-old redoing Tarantino movies. It's annoying.
I really like Ray Winstone as Frenchie. I think that's one of my favorite parts.
He's another gray area where it's just like it's a good performance, but he's a Brit playing an Irish gangster. So
right, and DiCaprio smacks one mobster on accident because he's reaching for cigarettes, and Frenchie's like, "What the fuck you doing? That's Jimmy Baggs. Come on, man." And he's just like, and his hair's all fucked up from beating up this other guy. It's
they kind of. He reminded me of Silvio, Stephen Van Zandt from The Sopranos, where he's very reserved, making sly remarks, and you forget that this is the right-hand man, who smashes people's, arms in if they're lying.
And the way he goes out, man, like that's one of the best moments. Like the editing and sound design hit like a truck, dude. Like he wrecks the car, and he's just like, "Fuck it!" And as soon as his finger touches pulls that trigger, it cuts, an explosion happens, and it hits so good.
Yeah,
that was one of my favorite moments.
Well, that's where they use some of the music montage probably the best. Is like it's giving you like, instead of, he doesn't want to go out like a rabid dog, he's like, yeah, I guess I'm gonna end it myself so they can't convict me.
Right, he just goes out with a literal bang. So good. But yeah, and like I'm a Wahlberg and Baldwin, like on rewatches, like when I first watched it, I was like, you're quoting them, so funny. But like on rewatches, I'm like, I don't know if it holds up as. I didn't like it as much as the first watches. Those two guys.
I'm with you, man. Like it's an imperfect film. We recommend it, but like it's not the best movie of all time. Like it seems like when I see people saying that is the best, like I would see either people who were like, love everything the filmmakers do, is like, we are not doing this nitpick. We're also, there are so many better movies in their diverse.
That's like their only Scorsese movie they've watched.
Same thing with Spielberg. You'll see people who are like, oh, Indiana Jones. I'm like, the dude has done other stuff like Schindler's List and Color Purple. Chill out.
Yeah, he's got an extensive filmography.
Like, what corner are we doing? And then you see other filmmakers where people only like, one thing they've done, and then they're like, I'm waiting for another hit. I'm like, they've done other hits, but they're getting distracted by their other disappointments lately. And so Felix Chong was one of the writers in Infernal Affairs, and he has done a bunch of other stuff that's very similar, like Confession of Pain, Initial D, and he did a Chow Yun-fat movie that co-starred Aaron Kwok called Project Gutenberg. And I think when I look back at this now, it's like, I don't have any issue with Infernal Affairs. I just, other than part 2 is a little slower, but I recommend people like binge this trilogy. This is good stuff, but if anything, they should have totally, I don't know if it was in the budget at this point, but they should have been introduced Chow Yun-fat in there if they wanted a little more exposure. Because I know it's cliche to say, dude. But like I could totally have seen him in there, like just even a cameo, like as a narrator or inspector. I think it would have gotten a little extra play here in the States just by his name alone.
You've got like top 10. Those 4 actors are like top 10 Hong Kong actors ever. If you throw Chow Yun-fat in there, that's just.
Yeah, Simon Yam could have been in there. I would have loved to see him be a good guy for once. He has done good guy roles, but it's very sparse. It's just because, like any actor, people want to see him be the bank robber or terrorist.
Yeah. And from my notes, Andrew Lau, he was a co-director on this one, and his cinematography background with Wong Kar-wai, dude, and Sammo Hung, like great filmography there. But his directing credits, I mean, not as impressive.
No.
I mean, you've got The Young and Dangerous, I think, which he did with Alan Mack.
But yeah, Revenge of the Green Dragons, he co-produced with Scorsese, and it was one of those, I'm like, this is interesting, but it's not quite there yet. Like,
right. But definitely they did good. I think.
He's done some, other good stuff. It's just, but like you say, like it's not something you're always dying to go out and see. He did do a thriller uh, with Claire Danes and Richard Gere that played overseas called The Flock, which I need to rewatch. It was one of those. It was very well shot, but kind of felt like it was the billionth, Man on Fire, Michael Clayton type of cover up movie. But I think that's just it. Like he is in it to win it. Like he is not like some of those other filmmakers who people want to just use their style, but they don't necessarily have a great substance to work with. And he's had some lesser movies like A Man Called Hero, and but he's had some other underrated ones like The Duel and I definitely recommend people check out his stuff. It's the Wesley's Mysterious Vow is actually a very underrated Hong Kong sci-fi film, which he did with Andy Lau and Shu Kai. And
okay, I'm gonna write that down.
It's interesting though how kind of like people act like Scorsese's the only prime guy here in the States. You kind of see that here with Hong Kong, where people are like, "Oh, just only John Woo." I'm like, no. Aside from Andrew Lau, there's there's so many. There's
Johnny To.
Johnny To is one of my favorites. But
Sammo Hung, Jackie Chan.
But the one guy who was well known to Van Damme fans, but
really, Choi Hawk, yeah.
Oh well, there was Cy Hark, but my personal favorite was Ringo Lam.
Oh yeah, dude, he's gritty, man.
Like those are the only times Van Damme does not play Van Damme. Is it both In Hell and?
I just watched that a couple months ago for the first time. It's funny
sweet.
You brought that up.
There was In Hell. There was Maximum Risk. It's like both very efficient thrillers that very gritty, very well done. But like, it's interesting how, you look at Ringo's other stuff, and much like Johnny To, like he loves noir. He loves building character studies. He's done the Aces Go Places movies. He did Prison on Fire and Undeclared War, and even a few Jackie Chan films and Chow Yun-Fat's Full Contact. So you're just like, these guys.
Full Contact's really good, yeah.
So rest in peace, but like same kind of deal where it's just like, this is a man who just not only writes a lot of his stuff, but also has launched some other East Asian filmmakers' careers.
Absolutely.
Po Chi Long was another one. He kind of became a stylish guy, but I applaud anybody who can just ride the tide, so to speak, instead of get poorly used to where you're just like, this sucks. Or we can hire you because we actually like your material, not just your content. It seemed like that was the thing for a while. You had so many tasteless executives who were like, would give you investments only based on how many tits and explosions were in it. I'm like, but is it going to be good? You can only really sell it if it's actually going to be good. And then you can put in all the stylish content later. It's just like, come on, man.
I gotcha.
I love over the top stuff too, but come on, man.
I know.
I need
definitely a palette changer. I was gonna shout out Chapman To as far as the actors. Chapman To played the guy. He was in the car and he's like, if that person's looking at you but they're acting like they're doing something else, they're a cop.
Oh wow!
And he was the guy who told Tony Leung, I knew you weren't there, but I didn't tell the boss. And he had a gunshot wound in his belly and he died in the car wreck.
Oh wow!
He was one of the underlings in the Infernal Affairs. I liked his performance. He had a little comedic relief. Not a big actor, but just I like that character.
Yeah,
I'm like going over my notes, so I'm just
those are good notes. I see, and that just literally just came back to me. Just the scene you described. That's the other thing too. I think that's why. In fact, I don't know if you play any video games. What's funny is
yes.
Okay.
Sleeping Dogs?
Yeah, it was like a sequel to True Crime Streets of LA and New York games, but then they redeveloped it as a thing. But a lot of people were joking. It was like, yeah, William Lee's character is a total hard-boiled Infernal Affairs tribute. And Donnie Yen did do some recent narc movies like Flashpoint and
there were some rumors he was trying to make that a movie, and
Special ID was another one. But yeah, I did hear that rumor too. They're like, let's adapt Sleeping Dogs into a movie, and I don't think the game did as well, even though people liked it. But that's a good point too. Like, it's like all the underlings they have. Like, instead of just having a good actor who's doing the usual, taking someone out to shoot them on top of the roof, like they did a good job of just like having very low key conversations, and much like all these crime guys, they kind of give it a voyeuristic look where we're watching, looking at this secret conversation we should not be privy to, but here we are looking over their shoulder in the dark, while they play poker.
Yeah, and they use Morse code. Isn't that so cool? Like,
that was a good point too.
Smartphones. They're barely even flip phones that time,
And that's something that's really
Morse code.
It's missing not only in the Departed remake, but also in other crime and action and mystery movies. Like, now everyone gets away by just showing the text bubble, but like, I miss when people use codes. It's like, yeah, no, other movies and TV shows credits, they do good on using Morse code. That's also a lot of stuff that you got to swallow before it can, pay off and everything. Is like, not everybody's going to, make sense of blinking, lights that signal something, it's kind of,
yeah, that's
cool, but a quarter of it is cool because unless you have that experience, it's kind of like when you see all these political assholes making, saying offensive things but doing it cryptically so they don't get canceled, or seeing people make a joke that you have to really dig for just to get to the belly aching laughs. It's like, that is too much work.
Right.
It's like, that's cool, but I can't really share in the whole thing because I didn't get to see all of the build up. I only saw the good actor playing the former Marine turned hero interpret it, and I got a vision of what he saw, and he didn't describe it until after the fact when he used it to defeat the bad guy. And so with this, yeah, I it definitely is the only movie I've seen. I'm sure there are others, but it's like the most I would see often was like maybe a Hispanic movie using some slurs or something or slang that details the kind of stuff. And I do see it in crime and military movies, even horror stuffs, where I'll get the slang they're using to describe their MP5 machine gun or the type of rat that they're dealing with, but I definitely have never seen anyone use all kinds of codes to describe to their underlings their current, we got feds in our roster looking on us, and it was just very well scored and framed to where we were looking in on their conversation, and it gave it a soul, a clicking pulse. We actually felt like we were looking at something we shouldn't look at. It's just, again, we're not doing it any favors, but it is a very visually well done thing. And nowadays, I think if someone did that, it would just be a overblown, fancy music video, whoosh, whoosh, see what we got, we're
right, music needle drops,
right, random music that has nothing to do with the context of the scene, but because we had a record deal, we got to insert it somewhere. We've got to keep you alive. We got to make, and so this is what sucks too, having to describe to people is like, we can love all kinds of movies, but even junk food you can make very well, and same thing with this. Like, this is so artistic. It's really is a testament to how to do a foreign thriller, because there were plenty of them where we would watch and be like, that was well acted but very depressing, or I don't really want to watch that again. It's about it's about a priest on trial. It's about, just gritty stuff that I can't really dig away from. And I do feel like Andrew Lau is digging not only into kind of Paul Schrader or Sidney Lumet territory, but it's his own oyster in and of itself. Like, I'm sure if Coppola saw this, it made him blush and say, "Yeah, that's awesome. I wish I made something like that when I did The Godfather."
Right.
We had cell phones back then.
I know, but man, when that failed drug deal at the beginning of the film, and when
Oh
Andy
man,
Lau
dude,
sends the text
you
out,
did
he's
way
like,
more homework.
"Cancel, abort."
Yeah, see,
and
that
then
every
Eric
movie
saying
needs more of
canceled
that.
it.
Usually, we just see the guy say, we'll see the main SWAT guy in a TV show say, "Abort," we've been found, or we see the main
Yeah, it's
gangster.
like quiet. There's not much music happening, and like
It's
when
low
he throws the
key.
cocaine overboard, and
Yes,
Eric Sane is so heated, and it's so quiet, and he's staring down every person in his crew, and
that's where I feel like not only does he have a good crew and he frame it very well, but I feel like he has just so many great gaffers, assistant directors telling the extras or supporting actors, do this in the background, more of this. So these characters who probably don't even have names, I'm sure they're drug couriers, 1 through 5 in the credits, but they gave them something to do instead of just look busy, and so that's what I love too. Most movies, especially indies, fall victim to introducing way too many people to have to comprehend and follow for one movie. But like they still had everybody in the background doing something. Like even the techs, we didn't see as many of them because we don't really
like
care.
banging on keyboards or
yeah. It's
I'm
like
tracking this, sir. Okay, sir. Like
right.
pass this on. Or...
We saw what we needed to see. We saw like Born Identity style, just enemy of the state type stuff. Like see them at the camera, but
yeah, a little bit, but not too much.
Not too much. Yeah, it's not the focus. They're inconsequential. Like in a way, that was Lau and company and Chong's way, I think, just illustrating, hey, they don't matter because they can't do anything for our narc. He's on his own.
It's funny you brought up enemy of the state, because in those texts, they're always cutting to the text, like zoom in 1 lat, 11 lat, west latitude.
Yeah. I was trying to use trying to illustrate it. Like it's good,
but there's none of that in here.
Yeah, right. It's just because Enemy of the State is a techno filler, so we had to see
how Seth Green with his yellow sunglasses.
Right, all the Geek Squad doing all these unethical things for these demented department guys and characterizing it without making it too over the top or ridiculous. And
right.
With this, we had to show
we got Morse code.
Right. Much like the Morse code, we're showing these guys don't have his back. Like they're doing their job, but like we're disconnected from them because much like the narc, he doesn't know, and Tony Leung does not know who has his back other than his mentor who's overseeing the operation, and that was good because like there wouldn't have been a point. You could have had an extra scene with those guys. It would have been a waste of time because they can't do anything versus these other techno babble thrillers where we have to see something going on because we deserve to see it. It's key to the movie. Like a movie like Sneakers, we have to see how everybody hacks because that's part of the movie, and they do it in a way where it's not limited to only the techno geeks. It's also interesting to the guys because it's also a heist movie. But what I'm overall trying to illustrate is like much like the criminal enterprise is shown as kind of impenetrable, the police are shown as being just on the edge, like they are barely hitting the surface. And even with Leong as the inside man, you get a lot of the sense of dread that he was already fearing before he took this undercover assignment. It's trying to avoid like every other Blue Still or Point Break or even in the Line of Duty Hong Kong film was doing. That we know you've seen every other undercover cop or buddy movie or cops and robbers film, so it had its own sense of identity by just showing how stressful the whole thing is instead of just restating the obvious, like, see, isn't this cool, isn't this gritty, it's like he has no one to help him. He is in this and he doesn't know if he can get out of this pitch black tunnel of a criminal fortress that he is penetrating, you know?
Yeah, I thought it was funny. Andy Lau, he's got a posh apartment. He's setting up his new speaker system. He's got a cute girlfriend, and then it cuts to Tony Leung. His arms in the cast. He looks shabby.
Yes.
He's wearing like a ragged. Yeah, this guy's got it rough, dude. He's gonna have to test the drugs out. He's probably fucking strung out. 10 years, dude. He's been doing it for 10 years after he told him 3 years.
Why I liked it more. Instead of having to, you know, and it is, I don't know if you've ever seen that, but I've seen they would every once in a while there was a hysterical article I would read where they would bring real life criminals and cops to analyze everyone's favorite crime dramas. And of course, like them, hate them, overrated. Like, it was so funny seeing them poke holes, say, I don't buy this Tony Soprano, or that's a very unrealistic criminal reveal on The Wire, or Training Day. I don't think they would do that. It was funny, dude. I was busting into tears, and it just showed you nothing is flawless, you know, like anything can be poked holes at, but like, I'm sure maybe some Hong Kong cops and gangsters would probably like this just because there was a bigger effort to kind of, and 10 years, yeah, that's a lot to soak in that I can be left to my imagination, as opposed to you're trying to do the whole, you know, gain the gangsters' respect and trust way too soon, way too quick, you know, for any believability of any kind, you know.
Right. I think a minor complaint that people have with Infernal is like, why do they continue to meet up in person? You know,
right? Why not do it over
being
a
tracked?
payphone,
You know,
back in that day, yeah, or behind a gas station, or send an under.
It doesn't bother me, but
no,
it's not a big
I know
deal
what you
to me,
mean,
but
though. It's just like it's just kind of one of those. And we're all hypocrites. I joke about this with all the other. Wow, why does everybody have a problem with unstoppable, you know, Rambo type movies, but then The Equalizer and John Wick is okay? You know, it's kind of.
Yeah, dude. I just rewatched Face Off last week, dude. Just plot holes. I'm like, what? Does not make sense, but I'm gonna go for it. This is fine.
It's funny.
It doesn't really matter.
I mean, I do this with James Bond, different eras, where it's like, I guess I'm okay with it there just because we took, or Godzilla, we just took the cliche and had fun with it. It kind of became part of its identity, I guess, for lack of a better clarity. And then, but yeah, that is true too. Is like, I will see some people sometimes let off even the weakest John Woo movie off, and then bash another, you know, cheesy spy movie or cops and robbers film. And I'm like, whoa, hold on a second.
Yeah, and Infernal does it right. There's not many plot contrivances or nuclear stupid like plot points.
Kudos to more of your notes. Those are way more detailed. Like and it's true. It goes over the time without going too fast and without relying on just the actors to carry the thing. Like, you really do legit feel for it. And I'm telling you, dude, I think people would get tears to their eyes if they just listen. I don't know what it is about piano. There's just something very poetic about it and visceral. And when you listen to any piano by itself, it can be very, very calming, meditative, delicate. But the piano was very well used here because it kind of just showed, it played on everything. The hopelessness mixed in with the mild optimism. Maybe he can get out of this. And I don't know. I think some people, I did every once in a while see trash talk on forums say, The Departed's amazing. The original sucked. And I didn't know.
Oh my God.
They came off as either snarky guys who, they reminded me.
I listened to a few podcasts today, and one of them, it was a group of guys. They were like, oh, you just want to be different. You just like, oh, I'm an Asian cinema guy. Like, Departed's way better. Shut up. Like, I'm like, oh my God. Just stop
I hate those guys. Those remind me of like, those are the kind of nerds who ruin stuff for other stuff. Like, those are the guys who go, Star Trek sucks. I never watched more than 5 episodes. Star Wars rules because it didn't put me to sleep. I did this with Sopranos guys who were like, they act like not only is it the only good gangster show, but they act like that's where TV first got good. I'm like, get out of here. No.
That's hilarious.
And it was like, and if you're gonna go there, if you're gonna go, oh, it's one of the first serialized shows, you clearly weren't watching other. It was not the first HBO show to do that. I mean, I will give RESERVOIR more time of the day over Sopranos. Sopranos is good. Spare
It's
that last
good,
season,
yeah.
but I'm just like, dude, don't act like it is. It's like it's kind of like politics. People want a team, and I'm like, there's got to be. It doesn't have to even be two teams. How about all these other
No, it does
teams?
not.
Come on. And it just gets
man.
annoying because it kind of ruins the fun for all the rest of us. It's like, well, whoop-de-doo. Like I was even doing this with people who are Breaking Bad fans. Like Breaking Bad was one I did not get into for the longest time. Like I just thought it was only stoner friends recommending it to me, and I just thought this can't be good in any way, shape, or form. Like it's good, but I probably won't like it. I see it, I binge it. I'm glad I waited the amount of time for it. I really dug it, but
I liked it, yeah.
at the same time, it was one of those. It's like it's kind of. I think that's just it. I think people rely on their dumb friends to recommend stuff for them, or they go into it when it's been way too overhyped. And I like to let the hype die down a bit, as well as just
That's true.
see if it can, you make heads or tails about it. Sometimes I mean, my siblings sometimes think I'm cranky and old because I just like they would do this with some of the new financial or legal thrillers that had come out, and I was just like, that's well-worn territory. That's ripping up. I would even do this with prison movies. They just took shots from, Birdman of Alcatraz and Cool Hand Luke, and it's just sucks because like you don't want to ruin it for anyone. I do not want to be that cranky guy, but at the same time, if I just don't think it's going to make use of its free hours, I'm just going to wait for cable for it to be consumed. So I think this is just a weird one. Like this has somehow fallen under the cracks, and most people who have seen it, it's been a minute. Like it's not going to be streaming anywhere, and the Blu-rays are available, but yet I don't know. It's just
yeah, and like I don't know how many Departed fans have seen the original. Like, not
the
many.
ones who did just seemed like they never dug Hong Kong cinema, or they saw Departed first and didn't like this. But here's the thing: like I did see Departed first, and I did not like it. Then I saw Infernal Affairs, I really dug it, and gave The Departed another shot and really dug it. So I think, liked it. I didn't love it.
Yeah.
So that's
I gave it 3.5 out of 5.
That's beyond reasonable. So, and here's the other thing too. I'm sure you've encountered this. I get sick of people doing the whole, oh, so you thought it was overrated. It's like I can still find something good even if it's overrated. If I don't like it, I will let you know. It sucks. It sucks ass. So then that's what's also annoying too. People just aren't used to the whole in between scores. I'm like, well, there's a lot of stuff.
Oh my God, you're so right. Like this is the greatest movie, or it's not.
It's like, and then they act like, oh, it's generic. I'm like, well, there's plenty of stuff that can be popcorn or easy fun.
Trash, good trash.
Yeah,
like, dude, I love Jason X. It's like the cheesiest B-roll
it's
movie,
crap, but it's really
fun.
It's a total. I think that's the other thing too. When you've been raised on 50s B movies, you're also more into the double feature matinee or drive-in stuff that gets echoed in some of these TV shows and direct-to-video movies. But yeah, I mean, Friday the 13th is another one where it's like, it should not have been a hit, but a lot of the fans kind of made it bigger than it really was to begin with. Kind of like Fast and Furious. That's another example. People don't think it's good, but they go to it anyway and don't get me started on all the Stallone movies. Same thing. We love his passion, even though his ego often does him in, but we just can't help but want to be curious about what the hell he's going to do next with whatever crazy franchise that starts off good and then gets formulaic. It's just something about it.
I know. I've only seen like the first Rambo, and that's it. I can't. I don't know if I can do the other ones. Maybe I can.
I would love to hear your take, because I think that's the other thing too. I think people get attached to certain stuff, or they act like an actor is bad and everything. But yeah, but back to the in-between stuff, like I will lose track of how many people it's just like, hey, it's 2.5. You see, I didn't think it was bad. I just thought it was average or barely passable.
Yeah, I might watch it again.
I'd watch it. It had good acting and a good twist, but it was undercut by the predictability and bad plot twist finale.
One or two things were brilliant, but
yeah,
it's like overall
a highlight. But then, and I think that's the other thing too. Like people are sheep, dude. I see so many who don't even want to see a movie, or they do want to see it based on whatever the score is. I'm like, it doesn't mean you're necessarily going to like that, especially if you're not.
Dude, I know.
But they feel pressure. It's like, oh, I want to be accepted by the film buffs. I should say it's good. I'm like, or maybe you should be honest, like everybody else.
Yeah, and these algorithms of social media or TV, they'll freaking hijack it and crank it out and
the algorithm
say you got to watch it.
It's so annoying, but I had to stop listening to certain Oscar shows because they acted like, oh, why did they get this wrong? I'm like,
yeah, I can't do that. No,
I didn't like any of those 5 movies you just mentioned that got nominated because they weren't all that. And that's what sucks too. It's just like, I see other people who act like, oh, now, this actor who I've dissed for years, now they're worth something. I'm like, if they're a good actor, they're a good actor.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many actors who had like 1 or 2 good movies, and the rest of the time they did TV and, crap. But they kind of earned their respect and then reversed it the other way versus they started off being a highlight in lesser movies and then started getting good, and I think we just have too many options now. I still will encounter, I'm sure you encounter people who will only watch something if it's streaming, and if it's not, oh, I can't justify it. I'm like, well, that's the only way you can see it. And if it's streaming, it's not going to have the director's cut or proper way to see it. So it's just.
Yeah, I don't do Oscars stuff anymore. When like Crash won like Best Picture, like that, which was like 15 years ago, I'm like, yeah, I don't really care about the Oscars anymore.
There was that, and just laughable premises. You had zombie romances, people falling in love with computers, and generic war movies.
Too, it feels like.
Yeah, and then it got into more. Then it got even more questionable, where it's like, that's a good movie, but it's not Oscar worthy. Like, so then it's like, okay, I love George Clooney, I like Jamie Lee Curtis. I don't think they're Oscar worthy actors, though. They're good. I'm not going to give away an Oscar for Best Actor. There are a million actors. I mean, there's so many movies at other festivals that don't even get an Oscar nom, and you're like, okay, well, give it to someone. Like, I love William Dafoe. I don't like those movies he's in. So, but he's earned it. He's done so much great stuff. So, I mean, if you're going to give an award to someone, why not it be for a role where I think everyone can get behind, instead of the studio that bid on this, bid the most, therefore they win. When you enter money into any contest, you can't expect any accuracy.
Yeah. Agreed.
But yeah, with some of these other divisive multi-drama stuff, it makes it even. It's funny you brought up Crash. It does make you wonder what would have happened if other divisive stuff like Natural Born Killers or Falling Down had been entered in at the Oscars, where that would have taken everybody.
I know, right? Like that would definitely change.
If Straight Outta Compton had at least gotten a nomination, maybe everybody would have shut up that year.
Oh my god!
You put in a fun blockbuster drama.
Right. I'm glad Parasite won a couple years ago.
Yeah, Parasite's another example. Is like that. There's all these other filmmakers where, I mean, I have joked that Dennis Villeneuve's like the only guy who everybody just shuts up about. They either like him or respectfully don't care for him. And he seems to, even if he loses money for the studios, they keep giving him money because they know he's a competent filmmaker who has a style and a vision. And he's like the rare mixture of, I'm going to get the Nolan crowd to see this movie as well as the art house crowd.
Oh, good luck.
It's a bit of everything. It's interesting what filmmakers, I see their name and I'm like, that dude is like David Lynch, but done wrong. I'm not for their plot twist endings. And then there's others where like, oh, they're good, but I don't know if I would see that movie in the theater. It would probably make me annoyed.
Yeah, I feel you. Absolutely.
There's no rush, man. There's no rush. But yeah, if they ever did an anniversary screening at like a local Angelica Magnolia theater, I would love to see it, especially if any filmmakers were in participation or film historians.
Yeah, I know. Those are always nice if you can catch one. for they're sold out.
Yeah, they'll do that. They'll do anniversary screenings, but it's often, again, just for blockbusters we've seen a million times already. It's like, yeah, no, I really would like to watch something that's kind of been underseen, So,
Dude, one of my closest theaters, they were doing the Transformers for 2 weeks straight, like from the beginning, and then there was the Lord of the Rings and like Star Wars. I'm
yeah,
like,
see,
do Infernal Affairs.
yeah, I mean, again, I like Back to the Future and Die Hard, but I don't need to see them in theaters again, or at a drive-in. I would much rather see a
Full
underseen
contact.
movie, and yeah, there you go. Full Contact would be great. I want to see. I mean, definitely having a film historian or a filmmaker Q&A is definitely what gives you your bang for your buck. So, I mean, if you're gonna do that, definitely have. And I mean, Texas Theater would do that. It's uh, there's the Draft House is another big chain that's around the states, and it's one of those. Is like that's fine, but definitely make sure it's it should be something new. It shouldn't just be someone who's stating the same stories they already said for years on, the trivia sites and their commentary track. I want something new. Like, if I got to bring Martin Brest out of retirement just so he can talk about one of his movies he is proud of, I'd do that. I would sign an NDA. I'd say I promise not to ask you about Jiggly or any other movie you got fired from.
Oh
Like
my
War
God,
Games.
he did do Geely, didn't he?
Yeah,
Wow, holy
another
shit.
example of the studio interfered with them, and he said, "Fuck you, Hollywood, I'm done." And I think that's the other thing too. I do want to know about some of the other guys who were an A-lister for a while, and then they were just like one and done. Like they went the way of Michael Cimino, where
Oh
it's just
yeah, poor
being a
guy.
loudmouth to studio execs. And so that's the other thing too. Is like I always have fun when we do these different topics. Is like which filmmaker was talented but always on bad behaviors, talking shit, and which one legit like was in it to win it. Like they were a visionary, but they couldn't, they couldn't decide how to handle the studio system and do compromises. And then there are others where it's like they just flat out got screwed. Like the editor sent by the producers went in and chopped everything up, and it was a mess.
Mm.
So
yeah, studio interference, that sucks.
but that's what sucks too. Like there is good times and then there's bad times. It's like, so that's what I have fun too, where the producer made the right call, but the director wasn't going to accept any kind of change and pulled an Alan Smithy and doomed the movie, because they disowned it before it came out. And then there's others where it's like, you guys are literally speaking the same language, but you're driving each other crazy. And it almost makes me wish they would pull a Conan O'Brien where he's on the record as saying if he couldn't convince a producer to let him do something, he would convince that it was their idea. And that's how he got away with it. So I think sometimes you just need to do that ass kissing where it's like, I'm not going to degrade myself, but I'm going to convince you, my idea is your idea. It's a great idea. Give me more money.
Yeah, right.
Instead of, I mean, whatever gets it done too. Like I think that's the other thing too, is like you'll see people spend so much extra time on a extra animated frame or an extra car chase or a slasher fight where you're like, that really made zero difference in how the plot was done.
Right.
You should have just focused more on some of the other stuff, is like and making sure the ending works and doesn't make everyone start flipping you off saying that sucked.
Yeah, right.
I really would be more worried about the ending. There's nothing worse when you do something and then everyone loses interest in the last 20 minutes. There have been times where I see people, I kid you not, going to sleep during a final battle scene. And I'm like, how are they asleep during this loud mess? But at the same time, it's also kind of news that I've seen too much of the same thing. It was too predictable. And so I think it does make you wonder, like, how predictable is predictable nowadays? Because it seems like everything's been overdone and overcooked, if you will, if you want to do a food metaphor.
Right. Yeah, I don't watch Marvel movies, man, and I'm not that kind of guy. So
my sister just got back from one, and I'm like, no, thank you. I'm like, I'm seeing green exploding on the screen. That's not good.
Yeah,
I go by the Police Academy argument, where you stop after part 7.
Jesus.
I went there.
I know they're milking that shit. But yeah, Scorsese, dude, remember he tepidly criticized Marvel movies and people lost their shit.
That's what was also annoying. Jane Campion, gave us, Year of the Dog and The Piano, so many great award-winning shorts. I think it's Portrait in Black that won Nicole Kidman, Viggo Mortensen costume drama. Great Aussie filmmaker. But yeah, same deal. Like in fact, I brought up Dennis Villeneuve. Him and the District 9 guy were like getting into it, saying, I fucking hate superhero movies. The other one went, fuck you, I love superhero movies. I'm like, and I kid you not, like so many of my friends, and my sister included, were like, oh, you got to pick a side. Right? Is so-and-so right? Is so-and-so wrong?
Oh my God.
And I'm like,
so
I love both those filmmakers. They're entitled to their opinion. Last I checked, it's not a fascist country. Good God. Like,
yeah, and Scorsese was like, they're like a roller coaster.
I guarantee you,
Marvel movies are.
Yeah, if Spielberg and Tom Hanks said, I fucking hate superhero movies, would anyone care? So that's the other thing too. Like, it seems like it depends on which celebrity says a hot take, and they were just picking on people who do stuff for adults. And it's like, again, I love early Scorsese. I don't care for his latest stuff. I'm not going to hang a guy just because he doesn't like a certain kind of movie. That's not who I am. That's never.
Did you see Killers of the Flower Moon? Because I haven't.
I do not recommend it at all. But
really, damn, I was gonna give it a shot just because it's
very
Scorsese.
whitewashed. It's just like,
what? No, that sucks.
De Niro's southern accent is awful. I like Lily Gladstone, and it was annoying how they couldn't decide to put her on the ballot or not. I'm like, are you kidding me? But it's like, oh, let's rewrite this just so DiCaprio has a more significant part. I'm like, the character did nothing in real life, and you're going to make him look like a failed hero. That's a disservice to the history. It really is.
Damn. Yeah, that sucks, man.
I've seen more accuracy in Forrest Gump.
Oh boy.
I'm going there. But no, go see it, make up your mind. But
I'd like to, just because it's Scorsese.
Well, and that's the other thing too. Like, I'm gonna see the stuff. Just that's the other thing too. Like, you want to just. I think everybody's just afraid to just do a write up on a movie or nowadays. I'm like, I treat everything like I did a college class. It's like, do some research, iron out your thoughts, because ultimately that's what the professor wants. They want you to get better as a writer or as someone who does a piece, but they also want to hear the real you. They don't want an ass kisser who's in need of an A, like they want. And I think everyone's afraid to do that now. They're afraid to speak their mind. They're like, I'm going to anger someone. I'm like, we're only going to be angry at you if you just do a very undeveloped thought, and it just feels like you're just
contrarian.
Like, for instance, I've seen people who don't care for certain Star Wars stuff. Like, I saw someone. So there were two people who I saw who hated The Mandalorian. One person clearly didn't know anything about Star Wars, like was just saying random shit to where it's like, did someone force you at gunpoint to watch this? And then there was another person who just said, I didn't care for the style. I prefer the original trilogy. I didn't care for anything that came after. I was like, okay, so you're that category, versus someone who seems to just be on drugs and making all these discombobulated thoughts that don't feel like actual thoughts, just feel like you're making shit up as you go along and you didn't understand it or like it. So I think that's the other thing too. Like, if I'm going to have a hot take, I want to give you significance. I want to validate me. I want to also validate you and explain to you why I did not like it, instead of, and I think when everyone says explain, they mistake that for a rant. I'm like, no,
oh my God.
I do not want a rant. I want a simple paragraph, and I want you to move on after that, instead of making me want to bitch slap you because you sound like you're on drugs and need to shut up, like, and that's the other thing too. I hate it when people fret in on their keyboard, I will fret in violence, and everyone's like, well, Kim, you just did it. I'm like, here's the thing. I'm doing it to knock sense into you. I'm not doing it because I fucking disagree with you. And
everybody can get criticized. I mean, would just be nice, please.
I'll see other people do that too. Like they're doing their best movies of a certain year, and they're like, "Oh, the keyboard warriors are coming after me." I'm like, I'm fine if you didn't care for RoboCop or Shawshank Redemption. I just want to give, or you like it, but it's not in your personal top 10. People only get mad if you just do a very underdeveloped thought, and it feels that underdeveloped is almost the same as trolling. It feels like you're just talking shit to get a rise out of people.
Right. That's what you got to do
We
for
all
the
like
algorithm
a Star Wars
nowadays.
movie that other people didn't like. I mean, people forget that certain Star Wars movies that are considered classics now were not liked back then. So it's whatever, man. And I think the biggest issue with these kinds of movies is I still encounter people who hate reading subtitles but need it in order to understand. So it's like, well, or they only want a dubbed version. I'm like, no, you do not want a dubbed version. Trust me on that.
Yeah, I love Cantonese audio with English subtitles all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, some Mandarin even, but like just it. And then you encounter other people who kind of, when you mention Hong Kong, they think, oh, it's an old Shaw Brothers kind of movie, or they think it's almost like a Japanese Godzilla film where the dialogue's behind a bit. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
no. This is not a spectacle like a Bruce Lee movie. Nothing wrong with that. Bruce Lee's a legend for a reason because he gets it, but it's also not mindless Hollywood equivalent either. So this is a thinking person's movie that also happens to have some crime, drama, and action elements and mystery. And so, yeah, I can't speak highly about these movies enough. I think you did some serious great homework though, my dude. And thank you for mentioning some key poignant moments, because otherwise we would have just talked about the final plot twist and the gritty layering and other dialogue exchanges with the cop supervisor, but I totally spaced on some of the other great stuff. Like, I think also, to its credit, like in Infernal Affairs, it felt like the women appeared when they needed to, but they were not treated as property. I see so many movies where the boyfriend or girlfriend or the wife or the husband is just, eye candy, but just doesn't feel like an actual character. And that just gets very demeaning when you watch something like that. And you're like, why even cast the person?
Two good-looking actresses. I think Kelly Chen and Sammy Chung in this one.
Yeah,
but they're not scantily clad. They're
right.
Dressed
they're
nice.
Not treated as property. They're not. It's a love triangle, but it's done in a very naturalistic way, and
they slip it in and out.
She says something that wakens him up to his current predicament and makes the character show their guilt as he's about to, kill.
Yeah, the directors did a good job, because a bad director would have added more scenes, like unnecessary. It would have made it all
sexy and then stupid, and you're like, good grief. That's fine for content, but that's a terrible story structure, because it just feels like a trap. So many people just they can't help themselves. They do something they want to do, but without asking, would that work well? Or when it's all down to it, it's just actors saying cliche stuff and doing something that I would expect in a lesser movie or show, not something I don't expect to be good.
Yeah.
It's just like and all this was so kinetic, just both the energy and emotions were flowing. And that there is a resurgence with Hong Kong stuff. Like, there's been some great companies. What was it?
Media Asia.
There's Media Asia, but then there was like not Go West.
Oh, dude, I know there's one big one I'm missing.
Yeah, it's
like people have a T-shirt.
88 Films in Eureka do something, and
that's that startup music.
Damn
it,
Milkshake or
like
something.
You got Shaw Brothers. You've got Media Asia. I don't know. I think I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of it either.
It was I'm gonna look it up now.
Yeah. Is that the one?
American company that distributes Hong Kong film. Well, go USA. That's the one. Yep.
Yeah.
I was gonna hit myself over the head if I did not specify that before we went, but I think that's just it. Like I see people who will watch the next Donnie Yen films. There is some, uh, there is an audience for it still, and there is some people who still appreciate it in today's modern stuff. But it just gets annoying because like I'm not going to see many mainstream critics cover that. I'm going to see bloggers be at a festival for something like that, and all that traveling and access to it aside, it's just kind of you just kind of wish just more of it would be featured. In fact, I think you would get way more viewers to even tune into it if you had more of their genre movies be there instead of the billionth, you know, World War II epic that's been done before, or a sad drama with a great actor, playing a victim. You're just like, no, no, no. Let's see. You should nominate a movie that many people actually want to see and does have merit, that both the popcorn crowd and the art house crowd loves. It should not just be, well, it's good, but it's not our kind of movie, so we got to give it only a sound editing or a costume, award. And like, come on.
Yeah, man.
If you brought stunts back, if you brought more effects makeup back, I trust me, you would get way bigger. Like, well, in all fairness, I think that's the other thing too. Like, the hype will kill something before we see it, and if we don't like an actor, it's hard for us to see a movie where they actually are good because we're like, well, I don't know. So,
I'll give it a shot. Yeah,
but that's the other thing too. Movies. Like, when I see a movie or show now, I'm not sure where I want to see it because it takes a while for them to show up on a place where I can see them.
Okay. I think I got all my notes out.
I think you exploded, dude. This was great. And
I wrote down like similarities, like what Infernal Affairs and The Departed did, but I mean, yeah, I think they're all pretty obvious.
We talked about how Tony Leung kind of was the face of the problematic, like, narc movies, and I don't mean problematic in that it's got inappropriate stuff, just like guy getting too close to the guy he's going to take down, being undercover for too long, and it's wild how without fail, as soon as the Infernal Affairs trilogy comes out, like they're like, this is a return to his hard-boiled character. I love, every once in a while I have seen film buffs in rare occasions say that might be that's the hard-boiled cinematic universe, but it became Infernal Affairs. He's now taking on all these Godfather type gangsters. I knew about it before Scorsese remade the whole trilogy as The Departed, but like I'm sorry, I prefer the Hong Kong trilogy. It's more like The Godfather. It's very slow burn. You're seeing if they can maintain the cover. Eric Tazane was very evil and then charismatic the next minute. And we were talking about, you want to go back to hardboiled. Anthony Wong Chao Zhang was the police captain guy. He's like, I need you to go undercover and keep an eye on you. Make sure you're not getting too caught up. And I think it just makes better sense when you see that both the narc and the police mole, who's part of the gang, are dating the same woman. Like they hit on it way better, I feel, than in The Departed, which, again, don't get me wrong, I think The Departed is good. It took a few rewatches, but like it's a whole totally different movie. That's inspired by like Whitey Bulger, and seeing Matt Damon and Jack Nicholson play against type was really cool. But like when you see the Infernal Affairs movies, you're just like, again, it had Alan Mack and Felix Chong. Actually, no, Andrew Lau and Alan Mack. Felix Chong did the screenplay, but like Andrew Lau did the Young and Dangerous films. And I think what I've always admired about him is he did, much like a Soderbergh type, he did his own cinematography, and watching these movies is just so moody. I totally understand how, kind of like Hollywood was filming blockbuster movies back to back, the Infernal Affairs were filmed back to back. Like there was always, like, first two came out in 2002, and then last one came out in 2003, and it was like a part prequel part sequel. It's just very intriguing seeing, them play off of the whole two guys, kind of like Heat, two guys on the opposite end of the coin, but it's so wild how the mole becomes closer to the police force and the undercover gets in way too deep with the mobsters and then having to confront each other, and Miramax really butchered it. And I don't mean with the footage or anything, but they just had a very cheesy DVD Blu-ray poster where you're like, yeah, and nowhere in the movie is there a poorly dressed woman holding a gun. It's not a Zero Woman movie for Japan, guys. It's a actual undercover movie, and there's some very beautiful piano music in it. It's a must recommend for those. I don't know if anyone here has seen it, but
I've seen them all once years, when they first came out. And I have yet to revisit. I'd like to.
all right, I totally recommend. It's just, this was back when we kind of had the patience for just slow burn kind of movies. Now it's like we've seen so much of it, too much. We're like, I need the meat and potatoes, and I need now. But I mean, some of the Donnie Yen movies that came out where he was playing a narc, and totally, I would see if they didn't say Hard Boiled inspired, they would say Infernal Affairs inspired, and it's inspired all kinds of things. Like the True Crime Streets of New York and LA had a spinoff called Sleeping Dogs in 2012. With an all-star cast, and I even saw the reviewers who had clearly watched a lot of Hong Kong stuff. They're like, you're basically playing Infernal Affairs, the video game. And it was set in contemporary Hong Kong, and it had, again, you playing a triad artist and undercover officer, and it's like, man, it's interesting how it also introduces you to the kind of crime that kind of goes on in that country, getting away at the docks and being part of a giant corporation. And it's just always something magical about it. That, like with all the other Hong Kong stuff we've talked about, is like they always do gangster stuff pretty well. Hats off to them because can you imagine how you even, write something like that, It's like, and make it fresh and new again without, everybody's, gonna kill the other guy or outthink the other guy.
Oh, I was gonna say the Departed is the one that people like that I don't like as much. That's I don't know if you're the same way, Cam. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because it took me 3 viewings to really like it. I was a huge fan of the Hong Kong trilogy it was based on, Infernal Affairs.
Yeah.
And then it got to where I was like, I don't know what it is. Cursing doesn't irritate me except when it's just kind of like, I feel like it's losing its purpose. So that was one of those. I like William Monaghan's work on other stuff like London Boulevard and Kingdom of Heaven. And there was just something about it. Like, again, good performances. I like what you guys said about evil Matt Damon and Jack Nicholson as, a Whitey Bulger inspired gangster who's like realizes he's probably at the top. He feels untouchable, even though he knows eventually the feds are caving in on his organization.
Yeah.
It just was one of those, it took me multiple rewatches because it's funny. It's the same story as the Hong Kong thing, but they're way more, the Hong Kong trilogy was more like Godfather. It was very slow moving and suspenseful. And this one was kind of more out in the open, hard boiled.
Yeah.
So you had
just
to kind of
Dropkick Murphys playing throughout. And
Yes.
Just like it's go, go, go. Deremy and I did, we did an episode on Matt
Yes, you
Damon,
did.
5 essential Matt Damon movies. And we talked about The Departed, and
he made it so much better.
Yeah, we both agreed that Jack Nicholson was bad in that movie.
He stunk.
Oh, fair enough. I think that's just it. I think it was just a movie that was relevant, but people assume that, I mean, I've seen plenty of movies where my favorite actors are in it, but it's not necessarily their top role. And
right.
Yep.
It's just Marky Mark and Matt Damon. Even supporting guys like Rescue Me's James Badge Dell and Anthony Anderson were good as the supporting crooked cops.
Yeah.
Hit on Matt Damon's take. It's just, I actually think this is going to be a real hot take. I think DiCaprio is actually miscast in that. Like, he's bringing it, but he gets in way too easy. So I don't know if it's a mixture of the script rushing in, like, and to pledge my loyalty, I have to let you break my hand. Like,
yeah,
that's a lot.
Suspension of you have to suspend your disbelief. That happens in Reservoir Dogs with Tim Roth's character. Right. It's like they really let him in really easily into this whole heist, but that just serves the story, and the movie's better for it.
It is.
They would have been vetted a lot better, like in both cases.
Like Deep Cover is probably the best one. Jeff Goldblum's like, I'm not sure if I trust Fishburne, but I'm told he's a reliable hood. Lo and behold, he's a narc.
Yeah.
Yep.
The lawyer interrogation trick. Write down all your ID, your social numbers for all the gang members, and they hand it in. There's a golfing scene. Both mob bosses recorded the conversations on the tapes, I think. And I like how Anthony Wong is like, I can just erase your file, dude. You want to go back? Or you just want to get thrown there? Which in The Departed, Wahlberg says the same thing. He's like, how about we just erase your file?
Yeah.
You want to meet up or you got something real? Call me back. You will not ever know the identity of undercover people.
You're a worker. You rise fast.
Like a 12-year-old's dad carrying fucking teeth. Whoop do fucking do. If you had an idea about what we do, we would not be good at what we do, would we? We would be cunts. You calling us cunts? Oh, you're a fucking genius, huh? Who forged your transcript, dickhead? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe fuck yourself. My theory on feds is they're like mushrooms. Feed them shit and keep them in the dark. Girls, have a good day.
Okay.
I think that was the other bizarre thing to me too in The Departed, where it's just like Martin Sheen's the only nice guy who's not over.
He is so nice. He is so nice in that movie.
And yet he's also the one who breaks that. He's like, oh, right. I need you to go back in. Can you do
a little longer, get the Michael process.
But I don't know how much of that was how the character was written versus how he performed it. And you're like, damn it, I hate it when they kill actors I love. I don't know how much of that is earned though. So, but yeah, Wahlberg and Baldwin, I think they were the life force of the movie, and it did a good job. I did see one critic do an argument on how it in other movies and shows, kind of like Sleeper Cell and 24 handled Homeland Security and all that. So showing how inept both the feds and the police were, I thought is the main strength of the movie all the way. It's Matt Damon being the sheep who becomes, the pawn,
wants to rise to the top,
and plays everybody for a fool and doesn't realize what a psychopath he is, but the clueless shithead. And then it was definitely when I'm seeing all the cops and feds, arguing with each other, is like that's for me the main life of the movie. That is the highlight to see, because it's like they're all like, oh, this is a big embarrassment for the department, and much like in every movie, it's like they're blaming each other. It's like, you're going down for this. I'm going to press charges against you because you interfered with this part of the investigation.
Yeah, I like movies like Copland where it really shows how shitty police are and like police brutality and how scummy they are.
Mm-hmm.
Like we need more movies like that instead of just like they're saving the day.
Oh, and it was even funnier how both Donnie and Robert Wahlberg, Mark's brothers, appeared in The Departed. It was kind of funny how he kind of tells, I think, one of them off in one scene. They're serving him some papers and complaints. Yeah, it was. But it felt better done instead of like other movies or shows where someone is casting their wife or boyfriend and you're like, give me a break. They're not right for this.
Right.
But the highlight was definitely seeing other moles at play, like Anthony Anderson, who had already done gritty stuff like The Shield at that point and was playing
just his usual role for him there.
Him, James Badge Dale. Again, there's another giving actor who has been in a million movies and shows, and you're like, everything from Rescue Me to 13
24,
Hours.
I think he was in like the third season.
A lot of people didn't like his character, but I liked that character. I actually defended him on a defending unpopular movie TV characters. I'm like, this dude he's the best thing about the awful Lone Ranger. Like, he plays the brother who dies at the beginning. You're like, what a great actor who has given so many thankless performances. And you're just like, he gets it. He is in it to win it.
Yeah, and he's barely in The Departed, but then he plays such a crucial role. James
Right.
Badgedale.
He's had some other good stuff too recently, like Flight and I can't speak today, Spectral, and you're just like, yeah, this dude disappears into every role that he does. He is not ever the same person. I give my hat to anybody who can do that versus someone who's just can act in their sleep, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
This has been a delight, my dude, because like we were kind of getting in the nitty and the gritty, and I see so many other people will go on side tangents, and we'll just split these up into multiple chats. I'm like, oh, come on, man, let's focus on.
Yeah, I'm glad we were, I'm all for deviating or tangenting, but we stuck to the plan,
Right.
Talked both movies, the history, and
good.
a little bit of our taste and what we think of the film industry and stuff. It was good.
Totally. I see other people who also just, I can't tell you how many podcasts I had to stop listening because they started out fun and then they just decided, oh, let's just argue. I'm like, no, come on. We're here to
that, or they're just sucking off the director and actor.
Yeah.
Like, they're sucking it off so much.
I've only seen 3 movies in their 50-plus career, and they suck, or they're good, or I'm like, well, you have a very undeveloped thought. You haven't seen everything they've done. Well, I'm not going to watch everything they do. I'm like, okay, then see most of what they do instead of making random disses.
Mm-hmm.
It's like people talk prematurely, and half the time, I once had someone who's like, oh, you just want to argue. I'm like, oh, really? You got to pull that card with me.
You seem pretty chill to me, dude. I don't see why somebody would say that.
I don't even know what to say to that. That's so fucking stupid and just proves my point.
We'll return after these messages.
Hey, it's Brent Pope, the host of Breakfast with Brent Pope. You've seen me on some of your favorite TV shows saying things like, give it up, Jimmy. You got to sink this putt to win. On Breakfast with Brent Pope, I sit down with guests from the entertainment world, and we do it all over breakfast. Or should I say Brentfast? Every week on Brentfast, you get inside Hollywood info and tips, great breakfast recs and booty debates. Most of all, you get the most delightful 30 minutes of your week. So dig in. It's Brentfast time. Listen at Brentfast.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever fine podcasts are found.
Welcome to the Better Call Daddy Show, the #1 podcast where we admit, no matter what happens, Daddy has the advice we need to fix our problems. Introducing my dad, Mr. Wayne Friedman.
That was good. It would be nice if you could also sing a song.
What would the song be?
You love Paris in the springtime. I just made up some words to it.
I love Rena in the springtime. I love Rena in the fall.
That's right. That's good enough.
What I do is interview people of interest, share it with my dad, and get my dad's advice. My dad is my hero. Nobody's got my daddy.
Oh boy, let's go to Grandpa.
You like to be a little rebel. I tried to rein you in. I have a daughter named Rena that acts just like I did. She's got a son that is not only just like me, but it's just like her.
I'm your host, Rena Friedman Watts. Invite your friends, subscribe, and I'm excited to take this journey with you. Let's dive in.
She was teasing this guy with this sword, and she accidentally cut his dick.
Oh my God, I'm dying.
And then he started to enjoy it. I started going down the phone sex rabbit hole. You've got the wankers, and they jerk off in 5 seconds, and then they're done because A, they don't want to spend money, and B, they're quick.
My stepfather had mania. If I'm yelling at one of my kids, that fear, that rigid fear.
Mom even said to me, I hope you have a kid just like you.
There are lots of people that are being bought and sold right now for profit.
If you think you're going to kill yourself, shut up and kill yourself. If you're not going to kill yourself, then shut up, smarten up, and it's all on you. The bullshit has to end.
Wow.
When I was 11 years old, I was raped and molested over the course of a year.
What Jeffrey Epstein had was a sickness inside of him.
I am Evan Castrilli Carmichael. I could do anything that I believe that I can.
I'm so excited too. Let's go.
Next on Better Call Daddy with my mom and my grandpa.
Stay tuned.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show.